Welcome to oziTarget Map. In this video we're going to have a look at the updated cake tool and some of the new tricks for setting it up before a flight. First thing you're going to want to do is set up your waypoint. Got a waypoint here on the map. We're going to go in. I'm going to start off initially. I'm just going to put in 2 rings. And we'll save that. Now we go to our tools and it's under 3DT cake. We get that. So the first thing we need to do is select our waypoint. So we're in the task design part of it. Select, and you'll see that we get a 2-tier cake. Now, the rings that we set around this waypoint are what determines the setup for this cake, or the first part of the setup, I should say. So if I go in here and I put a 3rd ring in at 1 kilometer, and I go save, and then I hit the refresh button here, we now end up with this standard 3-tier cake. The next thing we need to do is set the levels. So here we've got the edit shape button, and that will give us a tool for designing the layout of this cake. So by default, it sets it up with about 1,000-foot steps. Well, they are actually 1,000-foot steps starting at ground level. So that waypoint is at, in this case, 4,124 feet. And it will do 1,000 feet from that. You can set the scoring ranges for each one. So we've got the bottom level selected. That's 1 time scoring. 2nd tier is 2 times scoring. 3rd tier is 3 times scoring. The other thing we can do is change the snap between 100 feet, 200 feet, and 500 feet for the levels for when we're dragging this around. So we'll leave it on 500 feet for the moment. And that's what each one of these lines is. That's the first 500-foot level above ground level. So basically we can grab this dot in the center here and it will then snap down to 5,000 feet, or we can drag it down to 4,500 feet. So we'll leave it there at 5,000 feet and everything above it moves. Likewise, if the base level was off the ground, we could drag that up to 4,500 feet, and then we would just have to adjust the next one to set that back to the 1,000-foot level. So now we have a cake that's starting, 400 feet off the ground, and away we go. So we'll drag that back down to ground level. We'll drag that one back down to the 5,000 feet. So then we've got 5, 6, and 7,000 feet with 3 times, 2 times, and 1 time scoring. So that's all set. Hit done. Next part of this is the planning phase. Now I've got a series of wind readings already imported from OpenMedio. We'll use that for the planning. We're going to set our maximum rate of climb to 1,000 feet per minute. You can see in here we've got some pretty good speeds. Basically at that point all we need to do is hit plan. If I zoom out, you can see that we've got a fair bit of lead in and lead out on these. If I open up my settings, I can adjust that here with a lead in, lead out value. So we've got 1.4 kilometers, and we can set that out to 2,000 meters. We'll round it to 2,000 meters, hit plan again, and you'll see it'll extend those lines for you to help you line it up. Other settings in here are the track width, so we can change the planning width, and we can also change the underlay color for when this is running live. So that's your settings in there. So once we've got that planned and we know what it looks like, we can go back into task design and we can unlock that waypoint, select it, and move it anywhere we want to on the map. If we're trying to line up where to put the center of this so that this fits into the rest of our flight profile, whether we're trying to line up with a goal or we're lining up on the exit from a goal, you can drag that around, lock it when you're done. When we're ready to run this live, just zoom in a little bit, it will automatically start counting once you're navigating. So if I get my simulator running, and I'll just move that out of the way up here, we're going to take the winds off OpenMedio, select our start point. We're going to start really close to this so we're not waiting forever. Center on me, and we start navigating, and we can see what's going on here. So we're at 4,100 feet. Just bring ourselves up a little bit, and you can fly off this little graph if you want, but I would suggest you would pop it out, open up this larger profile map here. You can actually close the cake tool at this point. And then once you enter the cake, it'll start tracking your your scoring. And we can see here that we're moving into it. We're flying level. This little red line is our rate of climb. It's telling us at the moment we need to be climbing at about 200 feet per minute. So I'll dial that up. And what you'll see is the red line will catch up. And what we're doing is it's doing the calculations to aim us at this corner here. And as you climb, depending on how much the track is bending and how much further away the next intersection is actually going to be, this rate of climb will vary a little bit. So you will find that during the flight you're chasing it to keep everything on track. You can zoom in and it'll zoom in on your position. As you get closer to that intersection, you can adjust that. So there we go. That is the updated setup for the cake tool. Very quick to set up. Obviously you do all that in briefing. You wouldn't be trying to do this while you're flying. And there's just a matter of following the line, basically. The trick as a pilot will be, you're going to have a look at these winds and you're going to go, oh, I can do loops. I can cut back on myself and everything else. At this stage, the tool isn't making any of those wild suggestions. It's not optimizing for how you can use all those winds to fly around in circles and maximize your distance. You're still going to have to use your own thinking for that at the moment. But this gives you the initial plan of how you'd fly through it. 9 times out of 10 when you do these, as you know, you end up just scooting straight through them, and it's just a matter of optimizing it to try and get maximum points in that top tier. And this will hopefully set you up for that. Anyhow, there we go. I'll go back to tools. I'll bring my 3D cake tool back up again. We can see where our points are up to. Bring that over this side here. As we pass through this in a moment, so we're saying we need 236, we're doing 238, so we should pretty well nail that intersection. I'll zoom right in on it. And you can see there, basically didn't drop any points. So we're now in level 2, and our scoring points will start drastically increasing. You can zoom back out again. Again, our rate of climb for the next leg needs to be a little bit higher. Dial that up. We're now going to overshoot. And it'll start telling us to slow down. Anyhow, at this point, it's your time to play with it, do some simulations and get used to how to use it, how to set it up in the briefing and what it feels like to try and fly it. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.